All right. Oh, thanks, Kat. Just reloaded the page. All right.
There we go.
So, as per always, if we're reading a Star Citizen or CIG posted document, we like to read the header because it is straight from CIG and lets us know what the purpose of the article we're about to read is. So, without further ado, they said, "Happy Wednesday, everyone. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision making that led to any changes. This is a part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful to all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup. The CIG community team. Alright, so there's only one category. In notable changes for December 7th, 2022, the release view, the following cards have passed their final review for Alpha 3.18. Therefore, they are changing their status to committed. This is the only category. So, as we go through all of these, remember, this is the only category. Nothing has been removed. Nothing has been added. Likely nothing will change till the big meetings, or at least no major changes to the big meetings at the end of January. So, the Drake Vulture. Building, balancing, and implementing the Drake interplanetary light salvage ship, the Vulture, into the game. And as we know, it's the premier salvage ship, or not premier, but that's the premier entry-level salvage ship that we've been hearing about for at least the past year, and it has been released for or announced for several years before.
What?
That is now done.
Did we just become best friends?
And
Yep.
you'll definitely have the Drake Vulture when you play 3.18.
Okay, that one works. Nazeris, did you hear that? Did you hear it too?
I did not. I have the stream muted now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
I'm hearing you through Discord.
So not only do I have the little things that you can play, via the chat, but I also have sound alerts for how do I block the thing? I also have sound alerts for when people sub, and Axis just subscribed at tier 1. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate it. And it plays the little thing on the screen, and then it also plays the sound bite from oh gosh, it's with Will Ferrell, the Brothers or something movie. Oh gosh,
Brother, we're out there.
No. It's the same Will Ferrell and the same guy from Talladega Nights. Step Brothers. There we go. Thank you. It says, "What did we just become best friends?" Every time somebody follows.
Nice, I love it. I love it.
I thought that was a good pick. Chat, if you think that was a good pick for when somebody gives a sub, let me know.
That's perfect.
But yeah, Axis, thank you for the sub. Really appreciate it, because that sub money will go to stackup.org and help veterans like me.
Nice. Up to you with the cargo system. Cargo refactor system. Cargo system refactor. There we go. Got it. Nice.
There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll just do one for one. So you did the Drake Vulture. So
Yep.
The next thing that got to pass its final review for Alpha 3.18 is the cargo system refactor. This refactor of the ship cargo system will allow both found and purchased cargo to be picked up, moved around, and placed into the cargo grid of a ship. And we probably all saw the ISC that was like a month ago now, that showed off how that all works. So glad that is finally getting, into the game, and they can build on that from there.
Yep. This is effectively tier 1 over top the tier 0 that we've had of cargo.
Yep.
There's a lot to add. So this is just cargo in your cargo hold. This is not cargo timers. This is not physicalized cargo as far as the containers go. Cat, please stop hitting buttons. But you can find cargo, as it says, but you can also move cargo around. So, assumably, this has not been absolutely confirmed, but assumably, once you spawn the cargo in your ship, you should be able to rearrange it. So maybe, like in the Valkyrie, it spawns in a specific place, but you want it all to one side, so you can fit a car in there. That is something you should be able to do now. And I assume, because it says specifically both found and purchased cargo, that there might be a bit more ways to find cargo. So,
That's the
interesting because the only
thing that
the
I'm
only
really
find
looking
we've
forward
had-
to is when we have the probability volumes for NPC haulers, because I totally sympathize with the the player haulers right now, player traders, because trading is not profitable, and this is going to make piracy
maybe not
much.
profitable.
It's not as profitable as it used to be. It's a lot.
Oh
There's
no,
still a
it's
lot
not
of
as
work.
profitable
Yeah.
as it used to be, but
Yeah.
like it's more profitable than running bunkers for me right now.
Oh yeah, but if you're hauling and doing any sort of remotely profitable routes, pirates are going to be all over those, because then they can just go get they can disable your ship and take as many of the crates as they want, and then go and fence them, and sell them for it's basically free money for them. They get
Yeah,
less for it than you would otherwise, but it's this is kind of the piracy patch, and it makes sense because we're in the lead up to 4.0 and Pyro.
Yep.
But that being said, once we get the aspects of the quantum simulation, almost like we're talking about this for a reason, that allow for NPC haulers, I think it's going to take a lot of the burden, stress off of player haulers, because player haulers are just going to be one in a sea of NPC haulers, and they're not just going to go for if anything, a player pirate is more likely to go for the NPC haulers than a player hauler, just because there's going to be more of them. They'll be everywhere, less challenging, so this is a good step in the right direction, but we have more steps to go for sure.
Honestly, my biggest problem with cargo, and the reason I have been running it most of the latter half of this year, is it's too easy. There's not a lot of variant in it, so you end up doing a single route that pays about 100,000, and it takes about 15 to a half an hour, depending on how well you fly, to do that 100,000, and there's zero interference, so there's no interest in it. You're just zombieing back and forth. So I'm hoping with this update that pirates are actually going after cargo runners now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me something to contend with. Give me the choice between pay you or run. Give me the tactics question, instead of players are asking for PvP in chat, or bounty hunting, or getting a good crime stat for bounty hunters to go after them, kind of thing. Make them go after the haulers. That's the whole point of a lot of the game systems and a lot of the allure of the space, not Outback, but Frontier, that space frontier gameplay, like Freelancer had and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that is what I'm really looking forward to with this patch and the cargo system refactor, to give pirates a real reason to go after cargo haulers. Specifically me.
To actually engage in piracy rather than just extortion. Actually going for the cargo. And
or
complete.
just
Because the fact that they have to take it to they have to take it to a specific place to sell it, or places to sell it. That it adds more to that. A game loop that was very limited, it just is now becoming much more expansive, and I think it's a good thing. Every game loop is going to have its day. And 3.18 is really the beginning of, piracy being a legitimate game loop, and I think it's a good thing.
Give me a reason to man the turrets.
Yep.
Like,
and
I'm
to
driving
have
I'm driving
escorts.
a C2. Give me a reason to man the turrets. If a Gladius comes along, you might as well fly in the windshield. I don't have to care about you. So, you're gonna need to bring in something bigger. And for you to bring in something bigger, I'm going to need to man the guns, because I need to get you off me. I cannot outrun anything almost in the C2. So I'm going to need to fight, or I'm going to need to pay. Just once you start having pirates look at the cargo runners, it opens up an entire new dimension of the game. And everyone who's worked on Quanta knows it. That's why every time we get a Quanta, a NPC, a showcase, that is the thing that's going on. Even in IIE, it was with Jax McCleary in it. It was cargo runners and pirates. It was always cargo runners and pirates. In the 2018, 2019 with the, or might have been even earlier, 2017, with the box out of the Caterpillar, it was again cargo haulers and pirates. So it's been a theme since the game's beginning, and we just need it to like actually materialize now. It's a big part of the game. And I'm glad to be a part of it.
There's a lot of things that are materializing right now because,
Very
you know,
much,
yeah, your Caterpillar or your C2 can still get disabled relatively quickly, but they're working on the resource network, resource management system. So, and they're working on, you know, the physicalized damage system. So that way it will take longer for these larger ships to become damaged and become disabled, giving you the time for somebody to respond to your request for reinforcements, your service beacon. You know, it's all coming together.
That's actually a really good idea. I didn't even think of the service beacon system. Like North End Trooper said, like 100k service beacon will be a lot cheaper than losing 700k in Laranite. Not to mention repair costs. Like your job then becomes don't fend off, don't run, but hunker down. Try to put all your power into shields. Shut off your engine so you have more power for shields. That ties into the resource system. And your job is to hold out. So those players that are the bounty hunters, the mercenaries, the self-proclaimed police can get to your location, which also means you better not stray too far off the beaten path so they can get to you soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
It is so much of the game is that pirate versus hauler. So I'm so here for it. Anyway,
and that's everything we have for the quantum simulation.
Yeah, I mean, so much of the game. Anyway, next one, time trial race missions. This one came out of absolutely nowhere. How much this has actually impacted the patch. Not this one specifically, but this 9 missions, an entire game loop. There's the better you do, the more tracks you unlock. There are 9 tracks, so there's an entire, like, out of nowhere, there's an entire career in the game, just like that. One new patch, entire new game career. Anyway, time trial race missions. Time trial race missions are now being added throughout the standard system. Players will be able to test their skills versus set times, earning rewards based on performance, and even unlocking more tracks as they progress. Like I said, there's 9 tracks to unlock. I know at least one of them is the Snake Pit. You may have seen that on XGR's channel. There's a one in ArcCorp. They did a little editing to ArcCorp, even though they said they weren't going to touch it much. They did a little bit of editing to ArcCorp. So there's a racetrack now in the city of ArcCorp. I don't know which area it's around. I assume it's Area 18. And again, there are 9 others. I don't think this includes the PTV racetrack, though I don't know. But I think that's 9 in addition to the one at the Event Center.
I was trying to find a comprehensive list of what all the 9 were, and I couldn't find one off the top of my head. So if anyone in chat has seen a comprehensive list of all the new race stuff, I would appreciate if you could throw maybe a link in chat for me. Just so I can be more aware, because it's not something I follow too in depth. But I think it's super cool because like the way the racetracks look are wow, just wow. Yeah. But it's not just in the PU. There's like they did a major overhaul for the racing in Arena Commander and the racetracks in there. And so whether you're so if you're whether you're racing in the PU or racing on Arena Commander, if you're, just practicing or doing it live, there's so much for you in this patch. I think it's really great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm here for it. I might have to add a second day of streaming Star Citizen. Hammerhead will mean a minimum of 2 engineers. That is yet to be seen. Like, it's going to be interesting. Do you have more engineers or do you have a more stressed out engineer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the gamble.
Player agency on deciding how much help you bring with you.
Do you have that engineer double as a turret? Can the engineer man the top turret or the bottom turret, whichever is closest to the station? That way you can have the coverage, or you can have him working because you don't need the coverage. Kind of like it's going to be the balancing act of the game is resource management. So it is super cool. All right, so you got. Why do you have all the fun ones? PES.
Racing is fun. PES.
It's a whole career, but yeah.
Persistent entity streaming. implementation of the persistent entity streaming core technology into Star Citizen. Making use of services such as the entity graph and replication layer, this will allow every dynamic object in the game to fully persist across all servers, irrelevant of whether it is owned by or held by a player. PES is so incredibly huge, and I don't think we need to go into depth of how that works. I think that's probably going to be something that we do for Spectrum Pulse, is cover how PES and server meshing work together. And we'll have to break that down.
I want to emphasize the every dynamic object. If it
keyword
moves,
dynamic and
it's
keyword
tracked.
object. Yeah.
Yes.
If it moves, if its state can be changed, it is tracked. Every little thing. It doesn't necessarily have to move. It just has to have a state associated with it. So, because that will include things that don't move in the future, in the future as well. But yeah, every box, every piece of equipment, every vehicle, all of it. And as they add more things, every the whole shebang. But yeah, we'll do a deep dive in that.
Quite another cat.
And talk about how PES and server meshing actually work before server meshing comes out, so that way everybody can have a better understanding of what those technologies are, why they're so important, and also set expectations appropriately. Because as much as Nazeris and I are generally fairly optimistic, we also like to be as realistic as possible, and that's why we read all this information, so that way we can have realistic expectations with a dash of hopium sprinkled on there.
I like that.
But yeah, so PES, it is finished its, it has passed its final review for 3.18. That being said, I'm waiting to hear back to see if they got those additional services that weren't going to initially be part of the 3.18 branch in or not. Because I don't know which ones they were exactly, or how many of them there were. I want to say there was only a couple, but they were kind of big ones. And I don't know if because of the delays, if those ended up getting in or not. The big one has to do with the login flow, and we know that they've been working on that system, but they don't. It doesn't. If I remember correctly, and Nazeris, correct me if I'm wrong. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But if you disconnect, it doesn't. It will load you back in, essentially where the last heartbeat is, but it doesn't load back in. Like if you disconnected, in between, Arc L1 and Microtech or something, it would load you back in at that last where you last were at the station. I don't think everything.
That's what we have now.
Yeah, it gives you what you have right now. It does not. I don't think we're getting the updated system where if you disconnect, it will. It'll load you back up in your ship with everything in it, at that point that you disconnected, the last point, versus we have the heartbeat system, but essentially the heartbeats are relatively slow and fairly infrequent. And the way PES with the login flow and everything is supposed to work is they essentially ramp up the heartbeat system. So that way, it's essentially, doing quick saves every couple seconds, updating, you and all the entities that you are in your possession, updating their state. So that way, if a server crashes, it will when you load back in, it'll load back the state, basically pretty close to, where you were when you disconnected. So, yeah. And I don't know what else there was. I just remember reading about that one. So I'm looking forward to, what's it called, Nazeris, when they do like the recap? The postmortem. When they do the 3.18 postmortem. Yeah.
3.18 postmortem?
Mm-hmm.
That's a little while away.
Yeah, it'll be a little while, but I think that's when we'll get that information, and whatever they didn't get in as far as the services for PES for 3.18, I would bet money that they come in 3.19.
I wonder if we're gonna get anything in the Jump Point magazines. Anyway, One, you forgot to change the title of the episode. Two,
I
Gen 12 scene
did.
render.
God damn it.
The new renderer architecture to improve performance. This milestone renders every scene object through the new renderer with optimizations and additional features such as Vulkan coming in the near future. Vulkan is imminent, not for 318, but definitely probably 319. That's a bigger deal than you think because it opens up ray tracing and VR for the year after that. But also being able to be run on more computers at a better frame rate and better overall performance. So those things in the future, the Vulkan in the future, what we have in 318 is the high optimization of the graphics rendering thread and rendering everything in the scene through the new renderer. This will, for some GPUs, make it go faster. There was an ISC that they went over what this actually does. A very in-depth but very understandable ISC. I forget what the name of it was. I should have put it in the notes. But he showed us how the graphics thread was no longer the bottleneck. It was then the CPU thread. So with those who have better GPUs than CPUs, yes, with better GPUs than CPUs, this will benefit you more because we have previously been bottlenecked by the CPU not doing enough while the graphics card is doing all of its job and just having to wait for the CPU to do its job. So now they've optimized the GPU down to where the GPU is able to run behind the CPU, so that every time the CPU ticks, the renderer is ticking along with it.
Yeah,
So
the CPU is giving instructions to the GPU faster than the GPU is able to. Yeah, but Vulkan will end up improving the GPU side of it as well, along with doing the multi-threading, so that way we aren't bound by the the render thread and the is it the render thread and the master thread or game thread? I forget what the other thread is, but that way we'll be able to, it'll compute in parallel and use all the threads instead of just two. So, but yeah, that's it for the roadmap roundup for December 7th last week. Basically, it showed us that everything is committed. Everything, the entire patch for 3.18, everything that is announced has been committed, has passed its final review. So there's a lot of new stuff in 3.18, a lot of really big things, especially to have two pieces of core tech in PES and Gen 12 being implemented in one patch is absolutely massive. And so it's pretty amazing, even though there's been a lot of delays, largely because they couldn't do a whole lot of the QA work that they've been doing recently until PES was in. And so they just couldn't test these things, and PES took longer. So with the patch hasn't been waiting on all these other things. The patch has been waiting on PES so that way they can test all these things and have the build actually working. But it's pretty phenomenal to see all of these committed, and really CIG is really committed to getting this out before they go on their holiday break. So good, bad, or otherwise, I really think that we're going to see Wave 1 before the end of the week, and they'll let Wave 1 marinate, for a couple days and over the weekend and get a few fixes out. As long as it isn't too bad, they'll drop it to live before the end of next week. I almost guarantee it. Because with PES, they need the data. They need the data from large scale player, interaction, player utilization of the 3.18 patch and people playing. And so even if it does have a lot of things that are wrong with it and need to be fixed, it's more worthwhile for CIG to get people to get that data now and sooner than it is to let us just have 3.17.4 over the holiday break and 3.18 in Wave 1 PTU or something. Pardon me, but that's just my thoughts. If that does happen, the holiday break and playing 3.18 could offer a whole lot of great experiences, but also could lead to a lot of bugs and potentially some instability. We'll just have to wait and see. But
Okay.
that's
and it
my dash of
was-
hopium.
Yes. The ISC we mentioned for the graphics and the API stuff is Inside Star Citizen Further Underground, fall 2022, 1 month ago.
Ah, yes, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. And so we talked about the latest Roadmap Roundup and what the things are that got committed, along with everything else that's been committed over the last couple months as this patch has been working through. So we've got lots of locations, we've got gameplay, and new missions, all sorts of really great stuff. But let's talk about what isn't on the release view. The pieces of the game that are changing, getting updated, added, that aren't big enough to get their own dedicated card on the release view, but they mention them in the patch watches. So I've got all 3 patch watches pulled up right here. Nazeris, do you have them pulled up as well?
Yep. One thing I'd like to say before we get too far into those is everyone who knows us knows we like to go through the Shiny Tracker alongside
Thank you.
the roadmap updates. However, for an interesting time, there was no changes. So if you go to the Shiny Tracker, it will say there have been detected, or there are no changes that have been detected for the week of 2022 12/07. Check back next time. So that was just no other work except for just update. They didn't really update the roadmap itself. So they have been very busy on the stuff that they are doing. So the only thing that would have been updated is bars moving forward.
Yep.
I believe that we have either that was the last one or we have one more. I forget which Jake said.
It's supposed to be one
and
more
then
next
we're-
Wednesday, and
One
I'm
more
wondering.
roadmap.
I think one more next Wednesday will just be if there's anything unannounced
Mhm.
that that will be changed over next week, and I think that'll be it. And anything unannounced. Anything unannounced on the release view. Because I think that there are things that are part of 3.18 that haven't been announced yet that we're going to see get
Makes
added to the
sense.
release view. It could be locations, gameplay, ships, that sort of thing, as well as those things going to announced on the progress tracker. And I think that's the only thing that we'll see next Wednesday.
And I believe we
and-
won't see another one till late January.
Yeah, later than that. He said November or February 8th.
February 8th, they're skipping a whole month. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
because
cool,
of
cool, cool.
all the meetings will be in January.
Okay,
and
I
so
didn't
the
know if they were
first,
going to update it through those.
That's the date that I saw when I was talking to him in the Astropub Discord.
Okay.
So yeah, it's good.
The
It's gonna be
8th
a
is a
long
Sunday.
wait, but it will.
Oh, no, February.
Yeah, February 8th. So I
Ooh,
may be
that is going to be a
remembering wrong.
nice, juicy episode.
Oh yeah. Well, and that'll be the first one that we get. But there's going to be a lot of things getting added to the progress tracker, with the ramping up of production especially like from the locations team, in Montreal, the sandbox teams. There's 2 of them. EU, I forget. As they ramp up production, getting ready for Pyro, probably getting to work on other places like maybe Nyx. There's going to be a lot of things getting added, as well as, okay, PES is done. So now they can get to work on gameplay things that they needed to, we're waiting on PES. Now that it's full on in the game, in the dev branch, they can start developing gameplay using PES. And so we're going to see a lot of things getting added, getting worked on. So let's move on to the patch notes. The first one was the patch watches. The first one was November, let's see, you got November 30th and December 8th and today. Yeah, okay. So November 30th. And we're going to go through these pretty quickly because we're going to have our bit on quantum is sizable. So we want to get through these pretty quickly.
Boy, is it.
Mm-hmm.
So sizable, it's not done yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Nazeris, I can take this one if you want to do the next one, and that way I can do the third one.
Okay. Just don't forget the header.
Oh yeah, yep. So the patch watches are from, pardon me, Chris Wayne Schmidt, Wayne at Wayne-CIG, Alpha 318 patch watch, balancing keys. Each one of these has a clever name. Hello everyone. As with previous patch watches, we're spotlighting a selection of upcoming features and improvements that don't appear on the public roadmap. So as we approach release day for Star Citizen Alpha 3.18, here are some of the latest additions making their way into the build. Oh, and by the way, the links for everything that we're going over, the Roadmap Roundup, the patch watches, and everything that we will be showing you and citing in when we do the quantum section, when this goes up on YouTube, everything will be in the show notes. It's going to be a long show notes document, but it'll be in the show notes that you can pull up, and the show notes link will be in the description below. So yeah, additional key bindings. We're currently working on significant changes to the aiming system, which will not debut in Alpha 3.18, but in a later patch. However, several related key bindings will be available in the upcoming release. New gimbal swap commands. This will allow you to set a gimbal mode of your choice directly. G key short press will only swap between fixed and auto gimbal modes. G key long press will activate manual gimbal mode. Additionally, there are now key bindings to directly select fixed, auto, and manual gimbal modes.
Nice. So how long till we have to buy a second keyboard?
Yeah. It'd be like a, you can be like a Corsair, and you've got a screen down below on the floor, and a second keyboard up here on your left,
Yep.
and a toggle
What's that
pip.
keyboard? Do you have the landing gear?
Yeah, what's that one
keyboard's the
for?
landing gear.
Give us those sweet. Nightclub says, giving us those sweet HOTAS toggle switch position commands. Oh yeah, the especially with the animated ones. Yeah, cool. Toggle pip type. We will give you the option to toggle between lead and lag pip, giving you more flexibility to adjust your aiming. In addition to the toggle binding, you can now directly set lead or lag mode with a button. Robert Vose, thanks for joining us. No worries, dude. Glad to have you. ESP, two new hold key bindings for the pilot and turret gunner will be added to allow you to momentarily enable ESP by holding down the button. This is useful for certain joysticks that feature dual stage triggers, allowing the first stage to enable ESP and the second stage to fire weapons. Separate keybinds for deploying or retracting landing gear. In addition to the current toggle, you will be able to set keys to specifically deploy or retract your landing gear, which is required for hardware switches. Aha, okay.
Cool.
Stopwatch. I think this is kind of cool. We're adding a stopwatch to the flight HUD as a tool for the racing community. Two key bindings are available unbound by default. Short press to start and pause the watch, long press to reset the watch. The stopwatch will only be visible on the flight HUD. Due to some hooking problems, it will not be visible on ground vehicles for now. At a later date, we will move the stopwatch functionality to the visor, where it will also work outside of ships. That way, if you're doing wind sprints and you need to time your 40-yard dash because you're trying to build up that skill, now that we have a skill system,
I mean, the
we can
racing
use a
community,
stopwatch.
like, you gotta start somewhere, right? Before you get to the ground vehicle tier, you gotta start with your running tier.
Yeah. The for bounty hunters, I'm gonna give you 30-second head start.
Oh, dang, that's right. Oh man.
After that, I'm coming for you. Yep.
Or for those who've watched Halo, you have 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. Yep. Let's see. Balance changes. Ballistic shield penetration. And once we get through this, there's another mention from Yogi in the comments here that we'll read. Ballistic shield penetration will be largely increased. With this change, even strong shields will only scrub off a few % of incoming ballistic damage. Related but not quite ready for Alpha 3.18, we're working on weapon diversification, which will strongly influence weapon performance parameters and ammo counts. This is planned for a later patch next year. Health component distortion pass. The health of items will be increased to have less chance of being immediately destroyed by a single missile hit. Distortion numbers are also changing. Coolers will not be affected by distortion to avoid deadlocking. Power plants will not scale down their power output with increased distortion damage, but instead binarily shut off once distortion damage is too high. Power plants will then take 5 minutes to recover, while power down items will not receive any more distortion damage. So, I know there's been actually, we'll talk about this real quick. So the Yogi says ballistics haven't changed at all. The shields have changed. In general, ballistic shield penetration is something we wanted forever, and it will happen eventually anyways. We're basically testing out if the change itself is valid without having the physical armor system. I guarantee you the physical armor system is coming soon. They wouldn't be testing this if it wasn't coming soon. Because
that's like imminent soon.
Yeah, they are validating this, in order to get information to impact or inform their implementation of physicalized armor, like next patch. That they need information before they implement it. So that way, while they're testing it out, in QA.
Part of the crew, part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the ship,
part of the crew, part of the ship,
part of the ship,
part of the crew, part of the crew,
part of the crew, part of the crew, part of the crew, part of the ship.
Hi.
I don't
really
know why
like-
that was playing double.
Oh, weird. I didn't hear it again.
It was.
I really
it sounded like it was
all
playing
these
double for me.
changes. Oh, it may be because you. That could be a you thing. Did you guys hear it on stream as well in chat? Did you guys hear the double?
Did it? Yeah. Was it playing twice or did it just play once? It should have just been part of the crew, part of the ship, but it sounded like it was like playing double over itself. It was playing double-ish?
Double-ish. Okay, cool.
Okay,
That's
cool.
a thing.
No, it just means that I accidentally have it in there twice somewhere. So, yeah, it sounded like an echo for me, too. And so it just means I need to go through and scrub that one on the sound alerts page and figure out why there are 2 sound alerts playing for it. Because the other ones only did 1. And so I must have it in there twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I really like all they're doing to the
Nicholas Smell. Thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it, and thanks for joining us.
I really like all these balance changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they sound like what would have been there anyway.
Yep.
Like the diversification, I'm super excited for because I refuse to play ballistic weapons. Refuse. I do not want. I'm such a bad shot. I will never be good enough to have a ballistic counter. So I always run energy weapons because I have theoretically infinite ammo. So that means the more they tweak into this weapon diversification, the harder it is for me to actually kill a target, and the better ballistic weapons get as fast popping ships or fast downing ships, I should say, because soft death now. So really excited for that. Distortion, I think it's interesting that there's a deadlock that they need to find a way to avoid. Because obviously the idea will be not to have coolers not affect at the end. But currently they just need to not let coolers be affected by distortion.
Yeah, I think it's talking about how distortion damage is really in order to interrupt power output and power transmission, whereas coolers and coolant, that's like a hydraulic system. And so I think that's why they're trying to separate it out, something that's mechanical versus electrical in nature. Although it doesn't make sense because wouldn't the coolers be powered by the power plant? Yeah. But I guess it's okay. So if you hit the cooler doesn't shut down. But if you hit the power plant will shut everything down, including the cooler. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and this will all be reroutable when we get the resources.
Yeah, if you have redundant components, redundant
And
systems.
Where is it? While powered down, items will not receive any more distortion damage. This is why you shut off unused relays. That right there is why you shut off unused relays.
Yep.
Because if they break the ones that are on, then you can turn on the ones that have 0 distortion damage because they're already off.
Yeah.
It's kind of
it's
like a almost EMP.
It's also, if you disable someone, it's basically saying you have 5 minutes until the ship turns back on. And you can't just sit there and keep plinking them every couple seconds with your distortion guns to keep them down. It is a hard shut off with a hard timer. And so in 5 minutes, that ship's coming back on, back up under power, and, yeah. So I think it makes it really interesting in that, you can't just permanently disable someone. You've got a timer, in order to board that ship and take it over, so that way you can get that cargo before, it powers back on and the fight is on again. I think that's
or
great.
the bounty that you're chasing. Could be a lawful bounty hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Saying not everything's about piracy.
Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, so Yoga goes on to say, so far it looks okay, but the important bit comes when the wider public plays it, so we have reliable gameplay feedback and stats. If it is not working at all, it's easy enough to roll back. It's really just 5 numbers that are changing. So yeah, I don't have confirmation of this, but I guarantee you they're testing this because we are getting close to physicalized damage and the armor system. Because that conveniently coincides with that deliverable on the progress tracker. It just seems like way too much convenience for me to ignore. So we'll just have to wait and see when we get. Oh, I'm sorry, Nazeris, I misspoke. When I said February 8th, I think that is. I think Jake was saying that's when we will get the Roadmap Roundup that will include 3.19 and what will be in that patch. So we might be getting Roadmap Roundups prior to that, but I didn't ask and he didn't say.
Okay.
And so I think I misquoted Jake, but yeah, clarification.
Okay, so we may get them sometime in January, but still, I wouldn't mind, and I wouldn't expect them before, just because a lot changes over the month of January.
Oh yeah.
For those who don't know, for those who are new to watching Star Citizen's development, the month of January is all about the entire company. All 5, 6. How many studios are there now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you count Turbulent.
5 is that's both UK and Germany.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so 5 studios. So it's about all 5 studios getting, and there's a lot of flights that happen. There's a lot of stuff going over the UK right now, so that's a bit foreshadowing. But it's all like over the internet and also in person. There's a lot of head people that go touring every studio in January to make sure everyone's on the same page for the broad idea of the year. And so during that month, a lot of stuff changes very quickly. So I would not be surprised if we get very basic updates for the month of January. And then we get much meatier ones at the end or after January into February. Because a lot of stuff changes. Like that's when you get stuff getting removed off the roadmap, like bigger things removed and added, like maybe hacking's removed or something else. Because they're planning the entire year. They want to make sure that what they release by the end of the year is on par with the greater vision to get the entire project done. So that's what happens in January. Lots of stuff moving very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For the balance changes, these are not the final tuning values for distortion. Consider them a temporary measure until we approach related gameplay topics, like slowing ships down. So this is a temporary thing that it's designed to get us closer to where they want the feel of combat and disabling to be, but it is not. This is not my final form. Blah blah blah. Mining bug fixes. Mineable gems will be stackable in inventories in Alpha 3.18. Thank you. Finally, the team also added minor improvements to the mining gadget UI for better readability. That's all for this patch watch. Keep an eye out for more soon. And I don't think that there was any more comments from Yogi in here. Yeah.
They really should add a filter for dev responses.
They really should. And what drives me nuts is when you click on a link, it'll take you to the dev response, but then you can't easily see what the response is to. You have to just, view the rest of the replies and then scroll through to find it. It's like, no, I just want to see what he's replying to. Why is this so hard?
Yeah. Yeah. I really need like a filter that will show dev responses, which includes what they were responding to and all things responded to the dev.
Yeah. MWalker300 said in chat, and Turbulent is adding a studio in France. Technically, yes, but they have said that it is really just because they have a bunch of French people working in Montreal, French Canada, who were homesick and wanted to be back in France.
Nice.
So they are going to, it's not starting up, and it's basically just relocating some people, a handful of them. Now that could change. They could, if they decide to expand, because Montreal is a very crowded game development community. There's a lot of big developments, there are a lot of big companies that have studios there, and so it's very competitive for talent. There's a lot of talent there, but it's also a competitive market. If maybe they find that France has a goodly number of developers that they'd like to hire as they continue to grow, because Turbulent is growing in order to continue to ramp up production for all the things that they're doing for Star Citizen. Along, just like how the Manchester studio is growing, the or the Frankfurt studio is growing. So it could end up being a bigger studio, the one in France, eventually. But for now, it's what they said is that it was really just to allow them to retain people that they wanted to keep working for them, who wanted to move back to France from Montreal. So there's that. And Nazeris is going to take the next patch watch, the one from December 8th. So that was 5 days ago. And this one
lawlessness
has a lot of interesting bits and bobs.
I don't even know if I read this one. I think I missed this one the first time around. All right, so Alpha 3.18 patch watch. This is also by also by Chris Wayne Schmidt, CIG, also at Wayne Schmidt CIG, or at Wayne dash Schmidt. Nope, gosh dang, I can't read. At Wayne dash CIG on Spectrum. Hey, I got there. Continuing lawlessness. Following our first Alpha 3.18 patch watch last week, so the first one we just read, following up with more fixes and improvements you'll experience in the verse soon, or as my TTS like to say, in the route verse soon. Nobody calls that a route, but okay. Many adjustments flow into the build each quarter, often based on your feedback and issue council reports. This week, we've reached out to the mission feature team to give you a sneak peek on how they incorporated your feedback. So a very relevant one for all those who help actually bug test the game and don't just play it for funsies. That's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying you could put in an issue council once in a while. Anyway, quality of life adjustments. When at Platinum Bays, players will only see ships that they can spawn at Platinum Bay. No more scrolling and guessing. I haven't had a problem with this. I don't know who has, but nice
if you have a lot of vehicles, it is a pain in the butt if you're just trying to find your little ground vehicles and you've got like a dozen ships or more.
I don't remember it saying I could spawn a full-size ship out of Platinum Bay.
I've
only seen my snub and smaller.
Maybe
it's a bug. Maybe mine's bugged.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was referring to, because I could have sworn that I could see everything.
Says. I just don't remember. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Maybe it's because I'm thinking about what I'm trying to spawn instead of actually looking at the list. Next one is when reconnecting a comm array, players can now cancel the reconnection if they choose to allow illegal players to retake the location and ensure that lawlessness continues. Hey, that sounds familiar, like was part of the title. So yay, canceling reconnection features. So just an option that was added. Nice option. Kind of feeds into this being the pirate pass. Okay, next one is change some fundamentals on how spawn clauses work. For example, NPCs will no longer be deleted when they stream out, and will instead be tied to the streaming manager. This should help fix missing NPCs in missions. Great, because I've had to contend with so much of that over the past 2 weeks. That will be fun. It's like I just did the retrieve data op or whatever, the crashed reclaimer mission. 0 NPCs. That mission pays terribly if there's not NPCs there. Absolutely terribly. The next one, fixed an issue with locations sharing names when they should be unique. We had 2 unlawful UGFs called NT999XVI. So this is just a name that they changed, which causing confusion when accepting missions. Great. One of them, they changed the name to XVII or something. Who knows? They changed it. Now there's no apply. Fixed an issue where really long crime names would stretch into the date and overlap when using crime database. It's another text fixed. Fixed an issue where the Conray repair missions wouldn't be regenerated due to settings based on the mission record. That's an interesting one. A lot of mission fixes in this one, like the mission system fixes.
Yeah, the fact that we have this many between the different patch watches, we have so many quality of life fixes, is huge, because so many things. Remember when they did that? I don't remember if it was an ISC or an SCL where they're talking about the mission system. And they could see, whether missions were, too easy, too hard, whether they were bugged and not getting completed. Yeah, it's great that they're able to figure out, these missions aren't working. There's a bug here. People aren't completing it, not because it's not hard, it's just because it doesn't work. And they can go back and they do quality of life fixes. So that way these missions that have been in the game for however long can actually get fixed and working as intended. So I'm stoked about that, because there's a lot of gameplay out there that most of us who are seasoned players ignore because we know it frequently doesn't work. And so they're going through and fixing these things.
That was the longest time with the 890 mission, 890 derelict mission, or jump 890. What was it called? Urgent boarding, the boarding action mission. The first 6 months to a year that was in the game, it didn't work. And so when it actually ended up working, it got good. So when they did the second version of it. All right, so the next one is fix an issue where some of the derelict items wouldn't spawn. I've had this happen. This was the space reclaimer mission. It didn't spawn the stupid card. Preventing derelict missions. We have changed them to use the new tech as the server was taking some time to send certain events, which made them look like they didn't work. Good. Change the arrival distance to security post Korea when quantum traveling, so you now arrive closer than before. We're getting a whole security post Korea updates, so this is one of them. Fixed up the surface relay mission, as there were issues where the terminal would pop out of the relay. Whoops. Added voice line packs to sentries so they feel more alive. Oh, that's good. No longer are all our sentries in our hangars and and
in missions.
What are the places you have to go between the train and the space station, where you check your check your weapons and stuff before going into a landing zone?
Yeah, like the security station, security post.
Yeah, what is the security station?
Oh, I don't know.
Not
customs. There you go.
Customs. Thank you.
Yeah.
Customs. Gosh dang it, my brain completely removed it from my head. So yeah, security. The security will now talk when you go through customs. I wonder if there's any customs specific lines for them. All right. Fix various issues with Siege of Orison. I can't wait for the second version. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. This include fixing an issue where dialogue would play when players entered a ship being used in an event, and changing the way shipping containers spawn so that they are not allowed at the location. Yes, they fixed some stuff. Change how some of the objectives work in the prisoner transport mission, so they are more structured and make sense. I was gonna say make more sense and make sense. Updated missions to allow non-lethal takedowns to count towards mission progression. Yes, that's gonna be cool. This will work for a lot of missions, but not all underground facilities or Horizon Island missions.
Orison.
Horizon.
Orison.
Horizon.
Orison.
That's really cool. Non-lethal takedowns. I'm here for it. Fixed the issue with oxygen kiosk missions where it wouldn't pick the correct oxygen kiosk. I think my friend actually ran into that 2 nights ago. Made the black spot ignore the comrade overview so players can commit crimes in the zone and get away with it. Ignore. Made the black spot? What is the black spot? Ignore the
I don't know.
comrade overview. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what. If you know what that means, let us know, because I have no idea what that means. Added prison-based loot to the AI inhabiting prison caves. There's now an AI inhabiting prison caves? Has there been AI in the caves?
Yeah, in the prison caves, in the tunnels.
Wait, that says Horizon. Added a Platinum Bay to the Boston Flats so players can go there after escaping prison. That is a really cool thing. Like, so there's always a battle between the it's an MMO, I want to solo a javelin, those two ends of the conversation. And the game, as a game, should be designed to be played both ways. As designers, it's their job to design it how they want to design it, and they want to design it only towards the it's an MMO. However, it's also a game, so they need to balance that with, I want to solo a javelin. It might not get to soloing a javelin side, because that's the, full end of the spectrum, but they still have to accommodate players that maybe don't feel comfortable with other players. So escaping prison on your own in 3.18 will be a valid strategy. Yay. Okay, that was all the QOLs. On to ATC controls. No, ATC. Air traffic control will now clean up debris on landing pad / port when the pad is assigned for use. I don't know if it was Twitter or in the Astropub Discord. I saw this is the most heartbreaking image posted with this. It was a shot from the Wing Commander movie, because when one of the significant characters wrecks on a landing pad, they don't have enough time because of incoming enemies. All they can do is sweep their ship off the landing pad. Heartbroken. Absolutely just distraught. It was like PTSD crap from that image.
Well,
oh my god, it was hurt. It hurt.
On a Star Citizen note, this is PES.
Yes, this is me.
These are entities. They are being streamed out. The air traffic control is picking up the trash. Just like the system is going to need to throw away all the stupid boxes from your
I want
hospital
PES to be
gowns.
hooked up to the trash cans.
Yeah. That's what all this is doing.
I want to be able to put something in a trash can and it disappear. It be streamed out.
Yep.
So they need
Streams
to
it
add
out,
a layer
deletes
of
it.
trash in there, just at the bottom. And so I just dump it in there. Maybe the texture updates. Maybe they use some Substance designer to add dynamic textures in there. Whatever. Just give me trash cans that actually work. That's all I want. and make some way to shove a medical gown box into a trash can. Also, like, make throwing away stuff something to do with reputation. Like, maybe, like, you always hear in almost every, in ArtCorp specifically, you hear that keeping the city clean is like every civilian studio, whatever. Make it part of reputation where you get better reputation with like either local law or local businesses, something to do with the local area, like excessively local, like the vendors, the little vendor stalls at ArtCorp like you more because there's less trash on the ground, and so you get like at like full tier, you get like a credit off a hot dog or something stupid like that, but make it tied to reputation. Incentivize. All right. Last category for this patch watch: law. Dun dun. No order this time. Fixed an issue where criminals can pass charges against lawful players who snare them. That is so broken. So that's if they quantum snare them, lawless players can charge lawful players for catching them in the quantum snare. So broken. I'm glad that's fixed. Fixed an issue where the gunner of a vehicle can give the pilot a crime stat for attacking an AI ship. Again, that's horrible. Med pens won't give crime stats when used on others. Again, really necessary fix. Fixed an issue where if players ram a stationary unmanned ship and is killed, they can press charges on the owner of that empty ship. I've had that happen to me. I was criminalized by somebody ramming themselves into my ship. Fixed an issue where an aggressor can crash into an innocent person's ship, then press charges for vehicle damage. Again, that's also a common one. Fixed an issue where players with crimes who have infiltrated the prison can
What? Just become best friends? Yep.
And release Lift. Thanks, Citizen Kate.
Why did it play double that time? It didn't the first time.
Interesting. I wonder if it's this scene. I wonder if you have two of them in this scene. Do you have references in the OBS scene?
I just have the one thing called sound alerts. Well, and it says sound alerts 2.
But are you referencing in the list of sources? Are you referencing any sources from the first scene? Like, are you referencing the first scene at all?
I don't know.
Okay, well that might be it because I've done that before.
I don't know how to check if I'm referencing. Because why would it?
Did you add this scene into the what are they called? Sources. Did you add the main scene into the sources for this scene?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then that's where it's coming from.
But it's supposed to be in there, right? Like, why is it playing it double, though? I don't understand that part.
Disable the one for this scene. Disable the sound alerts for this scene. Let me know when you've done that.
Okay.
So sound alerts is disabled for just this scene.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Oh, it worked right that time.
There you go.
Why is it... So you don't need it as a source in each scene? You only need it in one scene?
If you reference the scene that already has it, everything from that scene comes with it.
Oh. Okay.
That includes all of your APIs and things. Yeah. So
Interesting.
you had it in there. You had it in its reference scene, but also in this scene.
So that's why it worked before we switched over to this with the screen.
That's exactly how I found it. Yeah.
Aha. Nightcoff, thank you so much for the subscription, as well as MWalker300. Thank you so much for the sub. Really appreciate you guys. Again,
Not
just to
only did you guys
reiterate,
subscribe, but you also helped us fix a bug.
yes, you are Pathfinders QA. Congratulations, you've been promoted.
Nice.
But yeah, the subscriptions, they go, once I get the payout from Twitch. Like I said, as soon as we get that first $50 payout, because that's the smallest increment that they will do payouts, I will match that first payout, and we will have a donation party, or something. Maybe we'll start a giveaway. I'm not sure, But yeah,
Star Citizen
so
live
thank you
stream,
so
so-
much. Yeah, where were you?
have two
Thank
more.
you for. Go for it.
All right. Modify the call to arms mission, which you should always pick up if you're a lawful player. It doesn't matter what you're about to do. To respect crime stats. For those who don't know the call to arms mission, it is a passive mission that anytime you kill a unlawful player or NPC, it gives you money. This includes additionally 2 missions you're running. So if you take call to arms and a bunker mission, every NPC you kill counts towards the call to arms mission. Always take the call to arms mission if you're a lawful player. Always. That should be one of the tutorials I do. Missions. Like generalized missions. Very important. But now you get paid even more or less, depending on how they balanced it, depending on the crime stat. I hope they have different crime stats for NPCs. Hope they're not just 5 all the time. And the last one, changed it so crime stat 1 and 2, very big change, won't cause the player to be arrested or detained or shot trying to pay off their landing fee. I had a friend. This was like last night or the night before. I spawned, and by the way, the Valk is my current party boat, not party boat, but the thing I'm using for me and my friends to run missions in. It's the Valk right now, because the MSR has problems. It's a really good ship. I'm surprised not more people aren't using it. Anyway, so we get the Steve. I'm like, okay, drive the Steve, or he wanted to drive the Steve, so I'm like, okay, drive it into the Valk. I'm like, go slowly, but no, he just guns it straight into the ramp, gets a crime stat for hitting my ship. It's only a 1 or a 2, goes to go pay it off in the Babbage terminals and customs, shot down by the guards, trying to pay off his crimes at 1 or 2. Horrible. He was in prison for then an hour, and then we ended up. He almost saved me because I got stranded because of the thing where if you hit a vehicle, the vehicle starts floating away. He was a few hundred meters out, and then 30K, and that's how we ended the night. All right. That is all for this patch watch. Stay tuned for another coming in a couple seconds from Tree.
Yes, the last one, which just came out today, like literally as we were doing our research for this episode, this popped up. I was like, oh, great, we have more work to do. But this one actually is, a lot longer. Oh my God. Oof. Okay.
It's got some bits in it.
Okay, so yeah, we've got a few bits and
I can take the
bobs.
bug fixes if you want. That way you don't have to do everything.
You have
here.
work to do, Nazeris. You have work. You
Hey,
you
I'll
have
do
your
my work.
you have your assignment. Did you understand it? Do you understand the assignment?
Yeah, I understand.
So the last one, which just came out today, shortly after noon my time, after detailing the upcoming Alpha 3.18 patch watch, we are back in town. After detailing the upcoming balance adjustments and quality of life improvements based on your feedback, we're back with the 3rd edition of Alpha 3.18 patch watch. Let's get started. Jump Town version 2.1. What started as emergent gameplay, the original Jump Town, before being implemented as a dynamic event, is now in its 3rd iteration. After evaluating your feedback, Jumptown's illegal drug labs have doubled in size for version 2.1. They also now have a second entrance, a second drug dispenser, and multiple windows and skylights. To improve gunplay inside, we made the labs circular and removed most of the doors for better visibility and fire lines. And if you run the mission on the illegal side, you can now also sell the captured maze at junkyards alongside Grimhex. So here's a few images of what the interior looks like now. So the interesting thing about all this is here is Jumptown, and underneath all this clutter is the old outpost tech. These old outposts are not going away. They have been added to the Rastar system, and they are building more and more overlays in order to be able to do things like this. So it's not just the homesteads that we have been seeing in different ISCs, the things that look like they're made of concrete and stuff. Those are outpost homesteads. So that's the Homestead is a variant of Outposts, whereas these are a different variant of Outposts. These aren't going away. They're going to get refined, continue to get added to. They're going to be different, but these are all overlays that they are creating via Rastar, just like for the other systems. If you want to know more about Rastar, we recently did a big old segment on it as part of the podcast, so you can see that on my YouTube. The Mui Mui fashion suit. The latest outfit from fashion label Mui Mui finds its way into the verse and combines smart casual design with natural fabrics to give you an elegant look this party season. This dress will be available in the Apparelli shop on Microtech. Mui Mui sounds very, very Thai to me. Like Muay Thai.
Daniel, right?
Yeah. I've been to Thailand. I've been there a couple times with the military, so I'm very familiar with the Thai. Ship bug fixes. Everyone loves their spaceships, so here are some fixes that made it into Alpha 3.18 that will make your favorite vessel shine even brighter. Siren lights on the Anvil C8R Pisces have been improved over those in Alpha 3.17.4. Gun racks for the jump seats on the Anvil Valkyrie are now functional. Woo! Yeah! Once 3.18 drops, I will be doing gameplay streams, particularly to go looking for relics, as I am a lore affiliate with Paul over at Astropub. And I don't think Del Enar is in chat, but Del Enar, who is in my Discord, very active member of my Discord, came up with the name for my Valkyrie, and I have since had a commission done for it for nose art from one of the artists that Paul used to do the Quantum Stellar art stuff that he has going on in his channel. And so I had a commission done because Del Enar decided to call my Valkyrie the Vomit Comet. And so I had a Vomit Comet themed nose art design done, and I will be using it when I make Twitter announcements and such for gameplay streams where we go fly the Valkyrie and go looking for relics as part of lore. So keep an eye out for those in the near future. They fixed the Aegis Hammerhead's front lifts. I didn't know they were broken. It's been a while. Shifted the Origin 890's jump hangers, lifts, and doors around so they can be salvaged and scraped. Interesting. Aegis Reclaimer will no longer have issues with players crouching in the cargo bay. Origin 600i Touring should now have an atmosphere in the midship lounge. That would be a good place to have atmosphere. Aegis Hammerhead component bays were added in the engine room. All part of the resource network system that they are currently working so hard on. Smooth floor collision in the Origin 400i, so there are no tiny gaps in the doors that make you duck down or split for a split second. That was really frustrating. I did notice that. The Argo Mole and Aegis Vanguard's lockers will now close after being opened. Improve the access point for the Asperia Talon's pilot seat to make it safer. Oh, that would suck if you were trying to get in there and it killed you. Aegis Redeemer's rear turret angles were tweaked, and the Aegis Redeemer's atmospheric hole near the cockpit was fixed, so you no longer lose atmosphere. Misk Starfarer's rear turret angles were tweaked. Aegis Vanguard Sentinel's engineering power triangle fixed. We have identified and fixed a bug that caused the Greycat PTV to explode while driving on the ice lake outside New Babbage. Origin 890 Jump's weapon rack slots should all be functional now. Awesome. Glad to see more of that coming online. Aegis Reclaimer received a minor flight retune to aid its atmospheric performance. So it will be less of a hog in Atmo. It's still going to be a hog, I guarantee you, but just less so. The Aegis Reclaimer has 120 SCU of temporary cargo grids added to the salvage deck to allow easier storage of salvage materials before requiring transport to the cargo deck area. This is an interim measure, until a more comprehensive rework of the Reclaimer is done to bring it up to the gold standard. Further iteration on ground vehicle speeds. So here's a list of all the vehicles that all the ground vehicles, and you can see that The ones in blue had no change from 3.17.3. The ones in green got an increase in their speed, and the ones in red got a decrease. So the Nova tank got slowed down. Mule slowed down a lot. The Rock DS slowed down, or Rock, and then the Rock DS slowed down. The PTV also slowed. The things that got increased, the Ursa's a little bit faster, as well as the Cyclones RC, RN, and the base. More Arena Commander improvements. With Alpha 3.18, Arena Commander and Star Marine have received quality of life and bug fixes following discussions and feedback from players, as well as the successful integration of persistent entity streaming into the module. We're extremely excited to elevate Arena Commander and Star Marine and encourage players to contribute to issue cancel reports and feedback threads so we can make further improvements. System balance. Persistent entity streaming successfully integrated into Arena Commander and its related systems. Added gray screen effect when dead for all modes. The system used to white blacklist ships from game modes has been completely reworked. Bleed out will now award the shooter both for causing the bleed out and for all bleeding damage inflicted afterwards. So you get points for it.
Nice.
Several UI systems have been updated to building blocks, which is great. It should make it perform better. The 3 topmost scoring players in all game modes now gain an additional 2,000, 1,500, and 1,000 points respectively. All other players gain a 500-point participation reward. In team game modes, victory now rewards 2,000 points, while defeat rewards 5,000 points. Hooray, all these points. What do we do with them? The top scoring player in any game mode is now awarded MVP, which displays in the game feed. Hemorrhage now displays as a secondary scoring event. Ballistic pickup amount increased from 50 to 80%, split across all ballistic hard points.
Nice.
Oh, okay. For Arena Commander. Items and vehicles should now appear alphabetically in the rental customization screens. Thank you. Make it so much easier to find what you're looking for. The following ships are now rentable in Arena Commander. The Hammerhead, Reclaimer, Harbinger and Sentinel, C8 Pisces, Carrack and Carrack Expedition, Cartu All, Nox and Nox Q, Raft, Mole, and the different Mole skins. The Banner Defender, the Hover Quad, Dragonfly, Hull A, Prospector, Starfarer, and Starfarer Gemini, Origin 890, and the Mantis and the Scorpius. Modes. Increased player limit of free flight from 8 to 24. So that's interesting that you can have more people in your free flight arena just if you want to fly around and practice things or check out ships. So that's kind of cool. Decreased required player count from last stand from 6 to 2. Okay. Removed third-person camera from elimination. Last stand now displays player objective in the top right of the screen. Duel, Battle Royale, and Squadron Battle have been limited to light and medium combat ships. Classic Race has had its allowed ship list expanded, so you can race in a lot more ships than you could previously. Maps, adjusted skybox in Dying Star to match the upcoming Pyro system. So we're going to get to actually see what the Pyro system skybox actually looks like. Dying Star has undergone a visibility pass, reducing cloud density, glare, and size of smoke particle effects, which led to poor visibility and motion sickness for some players. Also really hampered performance. So I'm hoping that will really help it smooth the performance out. Bug fixes, closure rate. Too far. Closure rate marker fixed to give correct velocity towards target rather than full relative speed, game-wide. Damaging a friendly with a missile now correctly gives a negative score based on the damage dealt. Damaging a friendly with a missile in modes where friendly fire is disabled will no longer damage the friendly target. Explosions and collisions now follow friendly fire rules. Last stand will no longer respawn an already spawned player at the start of a round. Dual mode should no longer affect the Battle Royale leaderboards. Fixed various issues with asteroid collisions in Broken Moon and Dying Star. Fixed issues with missing geometry in Dying Star. Fixed issues causing poor performance in Dying Star. Yay. Fixed various Viz area issues across OP Station Damien, Echo 11, and the Good Doctor. Fixed various issues where killing a player would not award the full score pool, most notably when getting headshots. Fixed an issue there's a whole bunch of bug fixes. If you want to read them all, check out the patch watch. I'm not gonna read them all. I'm just gonna run out of words. But a whole bunch of bug fixes, which is absolutely fantastic, especially considering that for so long, Arena Commander and Star Marine did not get much love. Lots of big improvements now that
There's an entire team for it.
an entire dedicated team. Yeah, North End Trooper, I agree. It would be cool if we could rent multi-crew ships and practice them in like free flight mode or in the combat modes. I think that would be a good addition. Oh, sweet. There you go. It is planned. It's going to be a thing.
That was one of the things they said even before having the dedicated team. It was one of the things they were really wanting to get in, being able to spawn multiple players in a single ship. But I believe the Hammerhead was just added. The Hammerhead and Redeemer were added to the new the AC. I don't know if it was. I thought it was in that patch watch actually.
I think it was in there somewhere. So I think it's a thing. I don't know if it's for all of them, but yeah.
I know the Hammerhead was added. The following ships are now rentable in Arena Commander: Hammerhead, Reclaimer, Harbinger, Sentinel, C8 Pisces, Carrack, Carrot Expedition, Cartwall, Nox, Nox Q, Rash, Mole and Mole Carbon, Banu Defender, Consolidated Outland, Hoverquad, Drake Dragonfly. All these things will be available to play in Arena Commander. Scorpius. So, I don't know if they have the system yet to spawn multiple players inside of one ship. You can do it in free fly because you can get out of your ship in free fly. But in like online Pirate or Vandal Swarm or Battle Royale, I don't know. I don't know if they have a team structure even. But they're working on stuff like that. It is something they want.
That would be very cool.
Yes, the Hammerhead, Vanguards, Defender, Starfarer, Gemini, 890 Jump, Scorpius. Combat ships, right?
Yeah.
Dual Battle Royale and Squadron Battle have been limited to light and medium ships. Where did they say that? Somewhere in here?
Yeah, it was in there.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I wonder if they're working on a heavy mode.
Could be. That would be interesting. Have a separate thing. You know, a Vandal Swarm and a kitted out Hammerhead would be a lot of fun. You know. All right. But that is it for... man, it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to.
The whole show's over, and we're ending it here.
Yeah.
We did it in an hour 42.
Yeah, but that is it for the Roadmap Roundup and 3.18 Patch Watch segment of this episode.